have you ever gotten out of a crazy, stressful, long drawn out situation and you finally feel like you're coming up for air, but you see the next wave coming? What do you do? At the time of this filming, we have had a spring and summer like no other in terms of stress. We've had a fall and an election season like no other in terms of stress. And we are about to head into the holiday season, which is always stressful. Sometimes good stress, sometimes not so great stress. So, when you're in between those waves of stress, when you finally come out from under one, you're able to take a breath, but you know another one's coming because it's always coming. That's how stress works. Stress is just like the tides. We're going to have times where it feels like it's pulling us under, and then we're going to have times where the stress kind of drifts away and we're able to catch our breath and dry out and take a assessment of where we're at and what we need to do to get from where we are to where we really want to be instead. So, as we start to take this breath before we head into the next stressful season, what do you need to do in that breath in between so you can face the next wave of this tide from the best place you possibly can and with the best resources at your back that you can? First of all, who am I to be telling you about this? If you're new to my world, welcome. I'm Dr. Vicky. I'm a gentle chiropractor for people as well as pets. I'm a Reiki healer and I'm a mind body coach. What I do is I help you get from where you are to where you really want to be by helping you with all aspects of yourself. You can't just look at one piece and get all the way to where you want to go. You need to look at the physical, the mental, and the emotional components all at the same time because they are so intertwined. We have to look at all of them. So, when we're thinking about stress, like I said at the beginning, it's just like the tide. We're going to have times where there's high stress and we're going to have times where there's low stress. And then it's going to come back and we're going to have high stress again. That's just how life works. But it doesn't mean that that tide needs to pull us under all the time. There's ways that we can help. But with the mind-body connection, with how our minds and our bodies play together, there is this spot that we get stuck and we get caught in this riptide of a feedback loop of stress. What do I mean by that? When we're experiencing a lot of mental or emotional stress, whatever we're experiencing mentally and emotionally shows up physically. You can always tell who is probably freaking out a little bit about whatever they've got going on in their life just by looking at them and how they're holding their body. You can tell that they're tense, their shoulders are up in their ears. Maybe if they're just feeling crushed by all of that stress, they start to curl up into this ball. So now we've got this physical manifestation. You know, sometimes when you're really stressed, you end up with that knot. Mine usually ends up in my shoulders. I've seen some folks with knots in their hips or their feet start hurting because they feel like they're not able to move forward and move through whatever it is that's getting to them. Whatever shows up in the mental and emotional is going to show up in the physical. Here's where the feedback loop comes from. Whatever your body is doing, your mind's going to follow suit. So the body follows the mind. When we're having all of the stress that we're experiencing mentally and emotionally, the body follows the mind and it shows all of those physical signs, those physical manifestations of that mental and emotional stress. But it works the other way too. When we're holding our bodies in these stressful postures, it actually tricks our mind into saying, well, I'm holding myself in this posture that I would have when I'm freaking out about stress. So surely there must be stress that I need to be freaking out about. And now your subconscious mind, which is so powerful and runs over 90% of everything you do and all of your habits and patterns, your subconscious mind is going, well, body says we're freaking out about something. So I'm going to find all the things that I can freak out about. I'm going to find all the things out there that I can stress out about. And the loop continues. You continue to get sucked under in that rip current, that rip tide. And it's so hard to get back out of it until you finally get to low tide again and the stress drifts away. The mental and the physical, those reactions just keep reinforcing one another. So, what do we do to break the cycle so that we don't have to keep relying on that tide to go away from outside forces? How do we get up above that rip current when we're in high tide? And then when we're in low tide, what can we do to break that cycle so that we don't spend all of low tide gasping for breath, feeling like we're still drowning because we haven't finally gotten up off of our backs and flipped over to our knees to cough up all that water that we just sucked down. And once we're finally catching our breath, now there comes the next wave smacking us in the face again because we didn't get up to higher ground. How do we break that cycle? Where the mind goes, the body follows. Where the body goes, the mind follows. So we have to start undoing that cycle by breaking that pattern. We have to take one aspect, the physical or the mental and emotional, and cut it off at the source. Not cut it off. Change what we're doing with it. So one of the simplest ways, not necessarily easy, but simple, is to change what our body is doing. If you have been holding yourself all curled up and all tense, which by the way can happen from working at a desk or working at a cashier register. It doesn't have to be from stress. It can be from just what you're doing in your day to day. But if you're holding yourself in this posture, that's telling your brain that you're stressed. So what we need to do to start unwinding and breaking that feedback loop is expand. Unwind our physical body. Take up more space. When we're stressed, we instinctively take up as little space as possible. That's our prehistoric brain kicking in that says stress equals mama bear coming to get me. So if I can make myself really small, maybe she won't find me and I'll make it through this. Our modern brains handle stress the exact same way. It doesn't matter if the stress is from an election or from a pandemic or from your mother-in-law calling or from your kids wondering where their shoes are. It doesn't matter what the stress is. Your body reacts the same way as it would if you were nose to nose with Mama Bear. It makes you small. Either you're going to lash out to try to scare Mama Bear away, but in most cases, you shrink and you try to be small and not get noticed. So to break that cycle, to break that mind-body feedback loop of stress, start expanding, taking up a little bit of space, relaxing, release your shoulders out of your ears, stand up from your desk and just stretch open. That tells the mind through your body that, hey, the danger has passed. We can start to relax. We can start to let this go and move on and move forward. You can also break that cycle with activity. Most of us, when we're stressed, we've all heard of fight or flight. There's also a third one. When we can't fight whatever's stressing us, because either it's a concept and not a physical thing that we can go out and do something about in the moment, or we can't run from it because it's everywhere and it follows us around, or it's in our heads, so we're definitely taking it everywhere. If we can't fight it and we can't flee from it, we freeze. And we stay still and we do nothing and we hope that it goes away. Or we hope that we can just brace until it's over. So to start to break that feedback cycle of your body and your mind being connected and stuck in this undercurrent, start to do some gentle physical activity. Get your body up and moving, even if it's 1 minute a day. Better if it was 10, but start where you can. If it's 1 minute a day of brisk physical activity, that can do so much to start relieving the mental and emotional stress as well as the physical manifestations of it. If you need some assistance in getting your body able to move, able to expand, if we've been locked up and we've been still for so long, our bodies get used to that and they start resetting and thinking that still and curled up in a ball is our new normal. And it starts to think, well, I don't need to expand. I don't need to go move. And it gets real hard to do it. If you need some assistance in being able to release the physical that is holding you back, to release what's all bound up and start moving again and introduce more ease into your physical body so that your mental and emotional can have more ease too, reach out to me. Let's see if Gentle Chiropractic could help you with that. Now, here's the other thing that you could do. You can start to break the cycle on the mental and emotional side of it because it's a loop of two. It's like a yin yang. You always have one feeding into the other. You always have the mental and emotional feeding into the physical, and then the physical feeds back into the mental and emotional, especially when it comes to stress. So what can we do on the mental and emotional side to break that feedback loop, to break that undercurrent, that undertow that keeps pulling us into the riptide? You can start reframing how you perceive what it is that's stressing you. Reframing your mindset around it. Our beliefs about what's happening in our own world are not necessarily the truth. It's what we perceive as the truth in that moment based on our past experiences and who we are and how we're thinking in that moment. And that can change. And sometimes it's so much better when we can change it, when we can upgrade how our minds are handling things, upgrade our mindset around what's going on, reframe what's going on to give it a better meaning. Things might be stressful, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just might mean that now's the time to move forward into the next phase of you at your best. It might just mean that it's time to upgrade something that's not working. Reframe what you're experiencing, upgrade your mindset, and that can do so much to break that cycle so that when the next wave, the next high tide of stress comes, you're at a much better position to sail at the top of that wave instead of getting pulled under again by it. If you need some assistance on upgrading that mindset, on reframing, helping that mental and emotional so that you can climb a little further up the slope of the shore for when that next high tide comes in so you can handle it a whole lot better and have some smoother sailing on it. Let's see if Reiki might be what you need to help that mental and emotional state. So I'm going to take a sip of water real quick because I've been doing a whole lot of talking. And as we begin to wrap up, the next high tide of stress is coming. It's always coming. If you ever feel like, as soon as you get through one stressful thing, another one comes, you're right. That's how the world works. But that doesn't mean that you have to be pulled under by each of those waves of high tide stress. Take the breath in between those waves and assess, where are you right now? Now that the tide is going out and the stress has started to relieve and you're able to take that deep breath, look around. Where are you at in life right now? And then take a look and see where it is that you really want to be instead. What is it that you really want to be experiencing instead of where you're at? And then third, you need to decide what actions you need to be taking while you have that breath before the next wave comes so that you can make that experience that you really want your reality now and be able to sustain it when that next wave comes. All right. Reach out to me for assistance in helping to break that feedback loop that pulls you under in the riptide when the tide of stress is high, so that you can sail smoothly on top of it when the next one comes. Catch your breath and reach out to me for that assistance with either the physical or the mental and emotional. Send me a text message with the word consult or leave me a voicemail at 636-751-3150. That's my personal line that goes straight to me, and you'll get a reply within 24 hours, unless it's the weekend, because mental health is good. You should be taking the weekends off. But I will get back to you just as soon as I can personally because you deserve that personal touch and that personal hand to get you back on top of the wave. All right, catch your breath and decide where it is that you really want to be and what you need to get there. I'm here for you. Take care.